up? Bubba here. Just kidding, it's Jack with DevSoaps.com, and we're back to our lesson where we're going to install Node. Now, you may be asking, what is this Node thing anyway, and why do I care? Well, number one, it's what this whole course is about, basically. But we're going to pull up a web browser and just take a look here at what it is. So if you go to their webpage, which is nodejs.org, you'll see here the brief description is Node.js is a JavaScript runtime built on Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. Node.js uses an event-driven, non-blocking I/O model that makes it lightweight and efficient. Node.js's package ecosystem, NPM, is the largest ecosystem of open software libraries in the world. Now then, in the early days, JavaScript used to only run in the browser. So usually the only time people were using JavaScript was if they were designing web pages or something. Well, Node.js came out and changed all that. Now you can run Node on a server or just a standard PC or Mac or whatever, and you can actually run JavaScript code like any other programming language. So what's really cool about it is that you can write your front-end applications, your browser code with JavaScript, but you can also write your server code with JavaScript. And since it uses Chrome's V8 engine, it's very fast and efficient. We'll talk a little bit more about the event-driven non-blocking I/O model a little bit later. But it's just a really cool application, and it really changed the game. It's a really big deal. And this part here about NPM used to stand for Node Package Manager. It does so much now that I believe on their webpage, let me just pull up NPM here, npmjs.com. If you pull up their webpage, I don't even think it says Node Package Manager anymore because it does so much more than just a package manager. So if you pull it up, you see up here in the upper left-hand corner, right now it says neurotoxin-powered marketing. And I think if you leave this up here or if you refresh the page, that'll change every so often. So it's kind of become a joke because it's so powerful and it does so many things that it's so much more than just a package manager anymore that they started coming up with these little clever names to put on there. So anyway, that's Node.js and NPM. We'll get into more details a little bit later on after we get through the JavaScript basics and so forth. And we'll talk about the event-driven, non-blocking I/O and things like that. So without further ado, let's go ahead and install Node and get rolling on that. Now, obviously, I've already got Node installed. But if you're installing it for the first time on your Mac or PC or whatever, you can go to nodejs.org in your browser. And you see here, download for Mac OS. If you're on Windows, it's going to say download for Windows or whatever. And this LTS here is long-term support. And right now we're at version 6.9.1, which is what we're going to install. Now you can click here and it will download Node. And from there, you can just double-click the PKG file and install it if you want. I've got a better way, or at least what I think is a better way, and that is by using a package called NVM. NVM. If you just type NVM in your browser and hit search, you'll see this first hit here is a GitHub link. And it's just, it says Node Version Manager here, so click on that. And if you scroll down to the README down here, you've got installation instructions. Now, NVM here, it says does not support Windows. There's a couple of alternatives. If you want to check those out, feel free to. And by all means, you don't have to use NVM. This is just my preference. But if we scroll down, we get to this install script here. And all we've got to do is just copy this. The first one here uses curl, and the second one wget. I'm not sure if wget is installed on your Mac by default. You may have to use Homebrew or something to install it. but we're going to use curl, which I believe is included by default. So I'm just going to copy this line here and pull up a terminal and just paste that in there and hit return. And you see here, it's giving me some messages that I've already gotten installed, which that's fine. But, you know, obviously if you don't, it's going to go ahead and install it for you. Now from there, once we install it, you're going to have to close your terminal out and then open it back up. And then there you can just type nvm help and hit return. And here's all the help information for NVM. You can see here there's a bunch of switches and options that you can run. And I'm going to run NVM LS right now. And this is going to list all of the node versions that are installed on my system. And you see right here, I've got version 4.5.0, 6.5.0, 6.7.0, and 6.9.1. Which 6.9.1 is the one we just looked at. And you'll see here stable, the alias stable is pointing towards 6.9 in version 6.9.1, and that is the default. Now, if I wanted to switch to a different version, say I wanted to use 4.5 for some reason, I could just do nvm space use and then v4.5.0 and hit return, and you'll get a message that you're now using 4.5.0. If I do nvm ls again, you'll see here this little arrow in version 4.5.0 is in green. That means that now if I type node -v, you'll see here I'm using version 4.5. I'm going to go back to using the LTS release, the most current one. And now if I type node-v, you see I get version 6.9.1. So now then we're listing out our versions. And if we want to remove a version, all we've got to do is just type nvm uninstall v6.5.0 and hit return. Now this is going to install that particular version of Node. So you see now I get a message that it's uninstalled. To install a version is just as easy. You just type nvm install and then the version number and hit return. And you'll see here it's going to download. It's going to download that version and install it. It even checks the checksum to make sure it's valid. And then now it's installed, and by default it automatically switches to use that version. So if we do nvm ls again, you see I'm using 6.5. So I'm going to change back and do nvm use and 6.9.1. And that's it. I type node-v, I get that, and if I just type node, I get the prompt. So we're good to go with that. We've got Node and NVM installed. Feel free to just install Node if you want. It's perfectly fine. You don't have to use NVM. It's just, I like to do it in case I need to switch back and forth with different versions for some reason. But that's it for this lesson. Let's go ahead and jump over to the next lesson, and we'll look at installing MongoDB.